That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, before we get into anything else, let's kind of get into Denis Coderre. Did you happen to hear what he said?
I caught the tail end of it.
Okay.
I came in at where he was being coy about who he would endorse as leader of the provincial Liberal Party. But I got to tell you, Aaron, a lot of what I was listening to was colored by the reaction of the Quebec Liberal Party today in the person of interim leader Martin Gay, who responded to Mr. Coderre's plea yesterday that they not run a candidate in the Arthabaska by-election. And they said Denis, has said what he had to say. We've listened to what he had to say, and we're running a candidate in the Arthabaska by-election. So, I mean, I don't know. A lot of the reaction I have seen in terms of the press conference that he and Alex James held yesterday has been, once again, this is online reaction, could be trolls. But on the other hand, there is a theme that emerges, and if that's what you're seeing, that may be the brand that you got out of that press conference, which is, what are these two guys doing together? Other people were remembering, and I completely forgot about this yesterday, but it was a reminder that, and you and I talked about this back in the day, James himself had some tax issues in the past. It was about municipal taxes and school taxes when he was living up in Quebec City. But, yeah, it's just, okay, he's fully entitled to his opinion, as is, you look at your screen right now, as is Joe from Côte St. Luc, as is, Nadia from Vaudreuil.
Do you want to take a whack at why you think he's doing this?
Other people have said it. I have sort of sidestepped saying it, but, there are some people. The guy is a political animal. He's done this all his life. It's all he really knows how to do. And I guess, once you've been bitten, it's tough to go back. It's tough to go back to not being in that limelight, positively or negatively. And once again, I don't want to psychoanalyze the guy. And I have said, given the health issues that he dealt with, I'm not really sure this is the wisest course he can be taking. And I'm hoping he's looking after himself. And I think a lot of people out there are more concerned about that than about his opinion on who the next leader of the Liberal, provincial Liberals should be. But I got to tell you, Aaron, it's a terrible thing to say, but I think if he shares one thing with provincial Liberals, he's a voice in search of an audience. I'm not really sure who he's talking to anymore, and I'm not even entirely sure who he thinks he's talking to anymore. He mentioned he's not going to run for the mayoralty, but I don't think there was any question of that happening. The run-in he had with the provincial Liberals was unfortunate, but once again, the whole thing, it hardly buttressed anything else he might have to say as a potential candidate, making that a good springboard to begin his campaign. I don't know how this is going to end. Will he run as a provincial conservative? Perhaps.
I asked that question, by the way, and he wouldn't answer.
Well, he says one of my affairs. Yesterday he was asked as well. One of my affairs are in order. But I honestly, Aaron, I don't get it. Usually you can say, well, this is happening because of A, B, and C. But the only reason I can think of him talking to you or talking to reporters is because he's done it all his life. He's talked to reporters all his life, and this is what he does. And like I say, I'm it's hardly endorsing his political career, and I've been quite critical of his actions as mayor of Montreal. But all that said, when his health began to deteriorate, I've also, and I think I'm not alone there, a lot of people are just saying, maybe you should stand down. Understand that you've had your time,
right?
And that's it. And when your health is on the line, it's not a matter of being, oh well, you don't know what you're talking about. When your health is on the line, I get nervous, seeing him making these forays. I hope he's fine. I hope he comes through it all with flying colors. But in the meantime, the big question is why. And so help me God, Aaron, I've been doing this a long time, and I can't think of a single reason why he is still in this mix.
All right. By the way, if you missed the interview, we're going to play that back for just after 5:30, which began, by the way, Jim, you didn't hear the beginning. When I started to ask about, the Liberal Party and them not letting him run, he just on his own, before I could even finish the question, said, I got screwed. His words. So it's
Okay.
Well, I'm just telling you that's how he's looking at it. So
yeah, and which is not exactly the kind of slogan you want on a campaign T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? You're not really setting the stage there for perhaps a further foray into politics.
Yeah.
And before we go any further, I just want to say, because I heard you pitching the interview not just on CJAD.com, but on the YouTube channel, and I'm very impressed because it is up there. I just took a glimpse at it now.
Oh.
It's locked and loaded and ready to go. So welcome. I guess we should be embracing the 21st century.
That's right.
The 20th century. We got TV.
It's almost 2020 here at CJD for
moly.
video. Yeah. Listen, the other guy making news today from a rather unexpected source, I would guess, because we don't typically hear much from Christopher Skeet. He's no longer the Minister of Relations with Anglos, right? He's got a job in trade and industry now. Fairly significant announcement. Listen to this.
If you look at what Quebec is doing today, we're leading the charge. We have one of the most ambitious bills in the Federation right now. I think Premier Legault will have the opportunity to go in front of his colleagues and ask them why they're not doing that and why they're not going as far as we are and why they should and how they should be doing what we're doing. I think we're being exemplary, and I think we're one of the most ambitious jurisdictions in the Federation, and I invite all the other provinces to look at what we're doing and see how they can do better.
He is talking there about a new, I guess, I don't know what we call this, but a new bill that would basically break down all interprovincial trade barriers and allow Quebec to trade with everybody else, which is what we've been talking about, having happened nationally now for quite some time. But this seems to be a pretty big step, does it not?
Aaron, I am utterly gobsmacked. Indeed, I am agog to hear the comments coming out of Christopher Skeet. To hear the comments coming out of a member of a government which routinely refers to the Quebec nation, routinely, refers to the rest of Canada almost as if it was a foreign country. You listen to the entirety of his press briefing. He is talking about being part of the Federation. He is talking about François Legault and his colleagues, his fellow premiers. These are baby steps, but I got to tell you, you're right. This is a huge deal. We were joking about, catching up to 2022 with YouTube, but the fact is Quebec actually, whether some people like it or not, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I should have rephrased that. Whether some narrow-minded separatists like it or not, okay, the consensus is growing in Quebec is that we're part of a larger country, that indeed the idea of having one efficient, profitable, prosperous economy is a lot better than having 13 feuding, sniggering, finger-pointing, arguing jurisdictions. And if this brings us closer to that, well, tant mieux, as we say in these parts, because the fact is we need a break. And if that break involves more prosperity for Quebec businesses, perhaps lower prices for consumers, a greater selection for consumers, if it makes our life better, I'm entirely in favor of that. And as I say, to hear this phrase so inclusively with Canada, so much of that, Quebec is a part of Canada. Now, to be fair, I didn't hear the French version of his briefing. I don't know if he said the same thing. But all that said, Aaron, I don't think so, though. I mean, that's one thing I'll give Christopher Skeet. I don't think he would do that deal because he'd probably get called for it. But the fact is, I think our dear friend François Legault has realized COVID's not coming to the rescue. Those days are gone. You've got to start producing because right now your track record is pretty terrifying. So the idea, if they can start, breaking ground on this, if they can start changing the channel, and indeed with a coming general election, whether Legault hangs around or not, if the vernacular can be changed, and indeed if the CAQ can, to a certain extent, hijack the reputation of being the party of the economy, the party of business from the Liberals, they're on the right track. And honestly, I don't care what party logo is over it. If it works for Quebecers, if it works for us, I'm completely in favor of it.
By the way, I should mention, so this trade deal where we're going to now try to break down these provincial trade barriers, and we've even heard the Prime Minister, of course, saying that's sort of a job one for him as well, does not include alcohol for the time being, which I found interesting, and has nothing to do with construction. So construction, that industry, which is so protected here, not part of this deal either yet. So there's still a lot to be worked out.
His explanation is, and it's totally feasible, his explanation, and I'll give my translation on it, it has become so bureaucratized. There are so many permits that in Quebec you've got to have that you don't need elsewhere. That's what the big barrier is. And as for the whole booze situation, Aaron, I don't want to be too cynical. But the fact is, this is a huge moneymaker for provincial governments, and they don't want to. How can I put it? They don't want to, share the juice with anybody else. So basically, that's going to remain pretty much sacrosanct as well. But I mean, the fact is that things at least are changing. People are talking about it out loud. That has never happened in Quebec.
Yep.
So who knows? Well, we're entering some very, very interesting / strange times.
Jim, 30 seconds. Government yesterday, this special committee saying they would like to see, social media accounts banned for kids under the age of 14. Just a real quick take on that. What do you think?
Very, very quickly, I think it is ridiculous. I think it is unenforceable. I think the government should be teaching, if the government wants to take a role, get them while they're young, get them while they're in school, teach them how social media works, teach them how to use it, how not to use it, and make sure they know what they're getting into. And yes, kids are not as stupid as we like to think they are. They're pretty sharp. You let them know what they're up against, they will follow your lead. But the idea somehow of, here we go again, let's ban something. I'm so done with bans in general and particularly in Quebec. Give me a break.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too, buddy.